So my story is actually, we joke that I'm the accidental champ because I literally walked into an MMA gym like having no clue about anything, and I was just like, oh, I need to lose weight. You know, I'm a fat, overweight college student that just finished up my undergrad, and I have a summer off and I want to get into shape. And so, yeah, I just walked into this gym on my way to work because I used to wait tables at Coco's. And so, yeah, I stopped in, and it was the home of Liz Carmouche. So she was the one at the front desk who greeted me. And then she's like, oh, why don't you try our MMA class? It's an introductory class with Manolo Hernandez. So I did that, and it just went from there. I just kept going back every day. And so, yeah, it all kind of just happened on accident.
Yeah,
I would
Did
say,
you know right away, like, this is my shit? Like, I need to be here?
I didn't know until like my 4th fight with Bellator. And I was
Really?
like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a while before I
So you're already in the cage when you found
oh
out.
yeah, I'm just like, what am I doing here? So yeah, it took a while for me to finally accept it that, okay, yeah, I guess I'm pretty good at this. We can do this.
Yeah, that's a real fake it till you make it strategy there, girl.
So yeah, dude, I'm
You
like
just
the
keep trying.
poster child of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Is that a strategy you use in your life outside of this?
Yes, I'm the best bullshitter. No, I mean, like, I always said I wasn't ever the smartest kid in class, but I was really good with the professors. I was really good with, you know, all the teachers and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I did fake it till I made it in MMA.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about this on the show of uncovering this, you know, layers of veil or whatever you want to call it, these veils of lies that we tell ourselves for a lot of our life, instead of realizing that we already are whatever it is we're, you know, trying to step into or faking it towards or whatever it is. And then, like you said, 4 fights in on your professional, you know, Bellator record, you suddenly go, all right, I guess that's enough proof. Yeah, I am that.
Yeah. And that it's all just self-doubt and your own self-critic.
Yeah.
That was what I thought was what was like the fakeness about this whole situation. It was just self-doubt. And so once I was able to navigate that, then yeah, I made it.
It's like that what you are seeking is seeking you. Because it's like, if that desire's in you, it's already a part of who you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, speaking of faking it till you make it, I know this isn't part of that, but this is a big way that you have made your way to this championship. Underwater training.
Oh yeah.
So tell us about what that all is and how it's benefited you mindset-wise, keeping you focused, keeping you from being anxious and all those things that I'm sure everybody battles with.
And that's super crazy because last night I actually had a dream that I passed out underwater because I'm like wrestling somebody underwater and I just, you know, just went unconscious.
Right.
But so going off of that, like this underwater training, I implemented into my camp getting ready for Bellator Hawaii. And it just seemed appropriate. Like Bellator Hawaii, I'm an island girl. I grew up surrounded by water and everything, but I never really considered myself a water mammal. I was always a land mammal. Like I did all my sports on land, and you know I grew up playing basketball, volleyball, soccer, wrestling. So yeah, even though I did grow up at the beach and everything, like I never considered myself a water person. And then but I decided to start training with these guys. They are called Deep End Fitness Underwater Torpedo League, and they're actually former special ops Marines who were water survivalist instructors. And so when they got out of the military, then they created this program to train elite athletes. So I discovered them because one of my high school classmates, Manti Te'o, you guys may have heard of him. He was training with them in San Diego, so I saw him doing that on his Instagram. I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So he invited me to a practice, and I instantly saw all the benefits. And, you know, as I always say, too, that the physical benefits are just byproducts of the mental benefits. Like, again, being underwater and being cut off from your air source sends people into a panic. It's one thing to hold your breath above water because you're like, oh, I can still breathe.
Right.
But when you're actually submerged and like completely cut off from any air source, and like if you try to breathe, you're gonna swallow water. Yeah. Then that kind of sets you into a fight or flight mode. And so training with these guys has really taught me how to calm that fight or flight mode, learn how to use it in the cage, and learn how to just not panic and freak out. So I like totally stand by these guys. I believe in what they're doing. I'm like, this is legit, and more fighters are actually getting on board with it too. Like even, you know, Dominic Cruz just hit me up yesterday and was like, hey, can we come to practice this week? We just had Tatiana Suarez come join us last week. Michelle Watterson wants to do it. So it's really cool to see it expanding, because I think these guys, Prime, Don, Ricky, them, they all deserve like all the recognition. These guys are some of the most badass people I've ever met.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's such a, I mean, it gives you such an edge for sure. I can see why, and it's really smart to play that out however in any way you can. I mean, you see people doing, you know, the now I guess old school way would be the high altitude training.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many alternative methods that we try and find the edge in these high level athletic sports. With when we were in Hawaii for the Bellator event, we were there, all these surfers came to the event. It was really cool because they happened to be having a pipeline going on at the same time as our event. And I know that a lot of those guys, including like Kelly Slater, you know, train jujitsu, and I feel like that mindset transfers over from these big wave surfers of like, how do we keep our calm and our cool in these circumstances like you're talking about? We're deep underwater. We have no choice but to figure out how to lower our heart rate so that we don't expend all of our energy before we can surface and take our next breath.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the specific example that we use when we go over like our briefing in the beginning of our sessions. One of the letters of the acronym that we use is extreme relaxation. And it's, we give the example of the surfers, like what happens if they wipe out and they're underwater. If they stiffen up or if they start panicking, they're going to lose all their breath.
Yeah.
But if they just go with the flow, then they're going to be able to conserve their energy, conserve whatever oxygen they have left in their tank, and before they're able to resurface.
And just figuring out what, you know, what's real as far as fear goes. Is this fear really something I need to expend this extra energy that I don't have a lot of, you know, or do I go, okay, you know what, this situation I know how to get out of, I'm going to use all my tools and I'm going to figure my way out.
Yeah, and just mastering, coming back to your breath, like I practice with plant medicine regularly, and with ayahuasca, in the very beginning of your journey, you're often either in the cosmos or underwater. And when you're underwater, you almost feel like you're about to die. Like you are struggling to breathe and you feel like you're at the bottom of the ocean. And it's really helped my anxiety outside of practicing medicine, because I've had to learn to just come back to my breath when I feel like there's that shallow. I just have to like sit and like take the deep belly breaths. So I bet you that's...
Is that a metaphor then, like being underwater? So for like the ayahuasca journey, is that a metaphor for like being in like deep anxiety versus like being in the cosmos, being...
You know, most people are in the cosmos and I'm almost always underwater, and I think it is because something that Mother Ayahuasca is always working with me on is my anxiety. So I think so, because sometimes I feel like I'm drowning.
But
in real life.
Hallucinogens, you're actually feeling like you're seeing that you're underwater. But I think what you're saying is,
I see.
Like if you think about dream state or something, usually it's very tied to what's really going on in your own subconscious. So kind of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know from personal experience on it, but from what I've heard from her, it sounds like a both on that.
Got it.
So before we got on, you were talking a little bit about the fact that you're going over to one of the Dakotas. Where are you going for Sundance?
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
So tell us about what that all entails, because that's a whole nother interesting alternative method there.
So once a week back in San Diego, I actually participate in a sweat ceremony or a sweat lodge ceremony with I call them my sweat family, but they are actually the Siquan band of the Kumeyaay Nation out in San Diego. So, and even though this is a Lakota tradition, they were trained to put on these ceremonies. And so I participate in a sweat ceremony every week with them, and they also participate in the Sundance ceremony, which so to my knowledge, and I'm by no means an expert on this, so if anybody's listening and is like, that's wrong, I apologize.
We have a disclaimer thing.
Yeah. So they invited me to come and watch and just be there to support their Sundance ceremony, which is going to be held in, I think it's like an hour outside of Rapid City, but it's basically it's about like a week-long ceremony, but there's 4 main days where they are fasting, so no food or water for 4 days, and they're dancing around a tree.
No water.
Yeah, no water.
Wow.
So we all go up on the hill, and they dance from basically like sun up to sundown, and I think they're able to rest throughout the night. But no food or water. And
do they do sweat lodge there too?
I'm
do
not
they survive?
sure. I'm not sure if they do, but I do know that they also, some might pierce their skin. I think some men might pierce their skin and dance around the tree until the skin breaks. I'm not sure if any of the women do that, but I'm going to go and watch my auntie Julie do it. And so even though I don't need to actually do anything, I'm challenging myself in support of her to do the fast with them. And it's so interesting too. I always think of them whenever I'm cutting weight for my fights because it's not fun. I probably fast for like 2 days when I cut weight, and then like I have 1 day of no water, and then I'm doing the salt baths, and you know, it's pretty miserable, but I always think of them, and I'm actually always playing their songs and their chants whenever I'm in the tub.
cool.
Yeah, and then I have my sage with me and I put it in
So
the
a spiritual experience.
exactly. And so once I've been sweating with them for about 2 years, and once I started doing the sweat ceremonies with them, and once I was able to like look at weight cutting as a spiritual practice rather than like, oh, this sucks, this is something I have to do for my job, then it just changed it for me. And it's actually something that I don't necessarily look forward to, but it's something that like I know is like cleansing my body, it's cleansing my spirit, and I always think of them, I was like, this is nothing. Like, imagine Auntie Julie up there for 4 days without food or water, dancing, you know, I'm just on the treadmill for half an hour. So,
But still,
it's definitely given me a completely different perspective about everything.
That's a magic trick right there, just turning some pain into something that actually, I mean, it has so much benefit for you, not only your career, obviously, that you're coming up into a fight, but just generally cell autophagy and detox and all the things that are happening for your physical body. Of course, your mental side of things, that's what, like you said, mental first.
And even asking too, like, what else can I shed during this?
Do you feel like that comes up a lot when you're in that let's call it the purge, or the because it really is, right? You're purging all this stuff out of your body. Yes, you're trying to get to a certain weight, but at the same time you're dropping some stuff off. So do you feel like, especially mentally, you have some big epiphanies or awakenings? What happens in that for you?
I for sure do. And yeah, like a lot of people are concerned about the weight cuts and everything, but I actually think it's really healthy because fasting is healthy. When done right, it's completely healthy for you.
And part of spiritual practices around the world.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that what a lot of people are missing is like that prayer component, because in a lot of indigenous traditions, like for example plant medicine, and a lot of people are missing like that prayer component, which actually unlocks the full potential of these plants. So for example, like the cannabis, people smoke it recreationally, or they might do it for healing, but a lot of indigenous beliefs think that you're not unlocking the plant's full potential for healing by not praying or not setting your intention with it. And so I think that by me transforming this weight cut into a spiritual practice with the prayer component, then I'm unlocking like the full, or maximizing all the health benefits for my body and my mind.
So
and
cool.
and so
I've never heard anyone
articulate it that way. That is really
and
cool.
so I think that I definitely have had epiphanies. And actually like rewinding back to my underwater training to like that, we call it eliminating the drag. Like my mentor Prime Hall, he's founder of this, and he, again, it's not just physical work. Like he will sit down and talk to you about like, all right, what is holding you back, what is dragging you down, like what's creating the drag, and he'll try to help you eliminate it. And so
I bet that really benefits once you're in the cage.
Oh, for sure. Like I've got rid of so many of my demons and like and craziness, like just in the water, and and in the water, in the salt bath too, like in the pool and in the cut, so, and in the sweat ceremonies, like in this element of water just somehow like cleansing you has like, I've tied together all of these examples.
What about figuring out how to be in the state of depletion? You're in you have no food in your body, you have barely any water in your body, you're just at the verge of death, you're knocking on death's door in some aspect. I get hangry after a couple hours with not eating. So what is like figuring out how to be around people in those circumstances? I think there's got to be a lot of growth that happens just in that alone. How do you live in this state of
deprivation?
But also I think too it goes into thinking like remembering everything is temporary. Like when I fast, I act like I'm never going to get pizza again for the rest of my life, you know, and I have to like keep telling myself I can have it in 3 days. This is temporary, you know? So remembering that, and it goes into all areas of life, like everything is temporary, the good and the bad, you know?
So I think the best example of that for me was actually Bellator Hawaii, where, yeah, like I'm not the nicest person to be around when I'm cutting weight. And Bellator Hawaii, though, when I was home and I landed, and like I have no problem telling somebody off. Like people will send you stupid messages. It'll be like, my biggest pet peeve is people that's like, oh, how do you watch it? Or like, how do you get tickets? And it's like, it's called Google.
Yeah.
Just be resourceful. Just go.
Like, I'm busy. I have a fight.
Yeah. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
So, and normally those questions just annoy the crap out of me. And like, I've gone off on several people, even at my gym, or like people would ask like, how are you feeling? How's the weight cut going? I'm just like, how the fuck do you think I'm feeling?
Yeah.
So, but for Bellator Hawaii, and I knew it was going to be even crazier because it's Hawaii, it's my hometown. And when I landed on the island, then I was just like, Ilima, like everyone's just excited. You should be grateful. You should practice gratitude and patience. So yeah, even though I was depleted, I'm just practicing gratitude just made it so much easier. And like I patiently responded to as many people as I could, just because I was like, they're coming to see you, they love you, you know, they want to support you. So just, again, express your gratitude and it'll be fine. And that was honestly the best fight week of my life, I think, because just practicing gratitude the whole time.
That was such an amazing event, start to finish, really.
What would you say is the toughest spot that you've been in mentally, and it can or cannot be related to MMA?
The toughest spot I've been in mentally was definitely like in between fights, actually, you know what, it was probably after I won the belt, and so that was in November of like 2017, and I had just won the belt. You'd think I'd be like at the top of the world, like this is the best day ever, but well, I think a lot of it had to do too with my personal life. Like my boyfriend at the time just like ghosted, like completely blocked me on everything. Like it was crazy. I think it had to do because my brother tried beating him up in my fight, but whatever. So but yeah, completely ghosted me when we came back home, and it was like really, really difficult for me because yeah, I'm one of those, like when I'm in a relationship, like I'm in it, and then you know, I wanted to share all of this success and happiness with someone else, but like I was alone. And so that was super, and then on top of that, like I felt as if I had reached the pinnacle of my career. Everything that I set out to do, I accomplished winning that belt. And so I'm just like, okay, now what? And a lot of people consider it the post-fight blues, where like you're so focused and disciplined for these months leading up to your fight that once it's over, then you're just like, what now? And so yeah, I felt like really aimless after that, and I just like didn't know what to do. I kind of went into this weird depression. So I think that was the toughest mentally, but it was after that moment then I started reconnecting to my spiritual side. So it was actually after that fight that I started going to the sweat lodge, and I started doing all these things. I actually started going to therapy too the year after that, and but I think the biggest reason why I was able to come out of that was definitely connecting to a higher power and to my spirituality.
So would your biggest takeaway be just that you're not alone, basically, or?
Yeah, and I'm like, you know, even though you might not have romantic love, you have all this other love from like so many other people, and so
much support. I mean, seriously, when you walk in the cage, you have a huge support system, and I'm sure outside of the cage it's got to be just as strong.
I worked for another fight league, and people were dashing out to go catch your fight.
That's they're awesome. I love Invicta. But I just, once I realized that, then I was like, yeah, you know, I'm a badass bitch. Like, if he doesn't want to be with me, then whatever. So, like, I have all these other people that love me, so.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how some of our most important realizations in life that cause us to grow so much come from the dark places. You know?
Oh, totally.
That's really, I think, they all come from that, I want to say. But I'm sure beauty, like having a baby or something, some miraculous thing happening, also you grow immensely from. I just haven't experienced that. So.
Yeah. And I always say too, I kind of always joke about it because I'm like, you know, my life is so good in every other arena. Like, my career is going great. You know, all my family and friends and people I love are healthy. Like, everything's going amazing. So the balance is that my romantic life is just like
it's not shit. Even the balance. I think it's that your focus goes to that because everything else is already taken care of. Yeah. It's actually something when I met Chris and I knew like right away, pretty much right away, within the first 2 days of meeting him, which we talk about on a different episode, that this was the one, like that whole search was over or whatever. I thought this Disney, you know, storybook love story or whatever I was looking for in my life. And when I knew that chapter of my life was closed as far as seeking out this person that's going to be part of my, you know, becoming a whole person or whatever I thought at the time. Once that happened, I literally had what I call an awakening now, but I used to call a mental breakdown. But yeah, I had, you know, a crisis. Literally, I started having panic and anxiety for no apparent reason at all, constantly. Went to a therapist and started all these alternative therapies and every kind of thing you can think of, went to every doctor you could think of, seeking something outside of me to heal whatever was going on. But the reality was I just suddenly had no longer the need to search this, you know, or seek this thing that was taking up most of my brain space in life, you know, this other person I was looking for. And now I had to focus on the shit that was really needing to be looked at inside of me. So yeah, it is interesting, I guess. Whereas, good things do bring up this shit I come to realize in this conversation.
Whereas I also feel like the times that my romantic life has had the biggest void has been the times that I've grown the most. I'm now going on 7 months of, I guess I can still say the word celibate.
Oh my gosh, me too.
You are?
Yeah, this is the longest.
7 months?
Yeah, this is the longest.
I have a feeling it's going to go 9 and then like something's, I don't know why the number 9.
Are you, but like, what did you choose celibate-wise?
Huh?
Like, I remember you made a dedication.
Oh, what my goal was?
Yeah, you had.
Originally I said 3 months.
Right.
And then I did a ceremony and I thought, you know, I think I'm going to do 6.
Okay.
I went 6 and then I was like, okay, I'm available, world.
Here we are, 7 months.
And it just, I had only spent alone time with one guy and it just didn't feel natural. I felt almost like, who do I want to give my energy to?
Oh, 100%.
Because now I feel a little bit more protective of my energy. And being 35, a single mother of 2 toddlers, I just kind of feel a little bit more different than when I was in my 20s and like, here I am. You know? So now, it's going on 7 and, but I can honestly say in these 7 months, I have felt more woman-like than ever.
What does that mean?
More feminine. Like I think because I've gotten to, I already knew my body, but I've had to, not during the celibacy period, but after that ended, I've learned to meet my own desires in a very like feminine way without needing the masculine, but also cultivating the masculine within me because I don't have it coming in from the outside. And so I feel a stronger backbone as well, and a stronger sense of being able to set boundaries. And so it's been a really amazing growth tool. And also I've realized how sensual I actually am because my last relationship being so tumultuous, I thought my sex drive was gone. But it wasn't. It's because I was in fight or flight mode. And now that that's been taken out, now I have all these urges as well because it's been so long that I'm like, oh, I am at
a sexual being.
Yeah. So it's been actually really nice. And
how about you? Have you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've like everything you say just now. I'm just like,
yes,
yes.
Ditto.
Like this is the longest that I've gone celibate, and it's so nice too because I recently went to Planned Parenthood to get my birth control, and by the way, I love Planned Parenthood.
Yeah,
like I'm
shout
so
out.
pro Planned Parenthood.
Shout out. Not sure about synthetic hormones, but that's a whole nother situation.
I know, I'm sorry, but I do like to get the
No, but we-
Depo-Provera
I'm so
shot.
glad Planned Parenthood
We
is
are
there.
supportive of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just went recently, and so they're doing their usual, you know, background check. They're like, have you been using protection, condoms? Blah, blah. I'm like, abstinence. So I'm just like, I've never been able to say that before, so it's really cool. But yeah, at first it started, the celibacy journey didn't start off like intentionally. I wasn't like, I'm gonna be celibate. It was like, my last relationship ended in January, and yeah, and I guess I did kind of make a little like, I have these weird hairs. I have an undershave right on the back of my head, and there's these small baby hairs that I'm trying to grow out. And so I told myself, all right, when it grows out long enough to be able to put into a ponytail, then that's when you can date. Oh. And then, so recently I actually like just started dating. I made like a Hinge profile.
That's what I made.
Yeah.
You can find these girls on Hinge.
So like literally within like a month ago, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And it's the same it's exactly what you said. Like, these guys I just don't really vibe with, and normally like you know, when I was in my early 20s, I would probably be like, okay, whatever's. But yeah, now I'm much more selective of who I share my energy with. And I feel like I've had so much clarity in these past months, like finally getting over that carnal desire. I've just had so much clarity, and like yeah, it's funny, there's one of my, I consider him my good friend now, but I guess before he was like a dating prospect. But like I took him home with me, and we like slept in the same bed the entire time, did not even touch each other. Everybody's like, is he gay? I'm like, I don't know. You know, I think this is just what self-respect feels like. Like, and
You're
is
probably also, because of where you've been these last couple months, you're putting out also maybe a different
energy.
Boundary.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, there's actually some guys out there who don't actually want to sleep with you right off the bat. They actually want to, you know, get to know you. And so and so it's been really nice. And actually, when you were saying about how you're trying to like balance your masculine and feminine energies, that totally hit home, because I actually just had my last therapy session on Friday, and so she's actually a hypnotherapist, and she has apprenticed under shamanic healers as well. So she, you know, she has that like very side of her. And so when I updated her on everything, I initially started seeing her because of my past relationship. It was supposed to be couples counseling, and it ended up being like me by myself. But I kept going to her even though the relationship had ended, because I'm like, no, I need to heal myself. And so anyway, it was our last session on Friday, and I had so much to update her on, because I didn't see her since before my last fight. So, you know, I told her about my fight. I told her about, you know, the new guy I was kind of seeing that doesn't touch me, but it's okay. And just, I was like, I don't know what else to tell you, because everything is amazing right now. So she's like, okay. I was like, is there like a closing ceremony or like a goodbye ceremony to send me off? So she's like, we're going to do some sand play. So she pulls out this, you know, this tub full of sand, and, you know, she puts me under a light hypnosis, and was like, okay, you're going to go and collect objects to take you forward in your journey, like whatever your higher self is calling to. So she has these shelves with all these, anything you can think of, like all these dolls, there's like creepy clowns in it, and just, you know, all these figurines. So I grabbed several objects, but something was telling me like, you need to take with you some type of phallic object. And for some, I just kept telling myself like, it needs to be something phallic. So she also has all these crystals everywhere, and I saw one, and I was like, that's the one, and I grabbed it. And so I put that in the middle of the sand, surrounded by objects. So I told her the story of everything, and she's like, okay, now what about that object? I was like, you know, I feel as if something, I needed like a masculine object kind of to tell me that it's okay to be taken care of. Like, I'm so strong, or I'm so like nurturing, where I want to take care of somebody, and I think that's my problem, is that like I need to learn how to be taken care of. Yes, exactly. And to just like balance my masculine and feminine energies. Like, I feel like I'm very masculine, like all my objects were very like masculine, and so I was like, I just kind of need to learn how to balance that feminine side, because that's when I'm gonna find true inner peace. And maybe once I find that, then that's when, you know, I might find my life partner. I don't know. And so she's like, do you know what that is? I was like, nope. She's like, so that is literally a stone for balancing masculine and feminine energies.
Way.
What? And she like pulled up the description, and I'm just like, all right, this is perfect. Like,
Yeah,
and
I'm
now
in alignment.
Yes,
Yeah.
like this is amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so it's on my it's on my bedside table, and like every morning I kind of just play with it and
Yeah.
like balance.
And
So,
remember, yeah, I don't know why it brings to mind when you were speaking about marijuana. You were speaking about plant medicine being something that tribes will want to do ceremony around it and make it a ritualistic thing, not just I'm going to smoke some weed just to smoke some weed. And when you were talking about that, I thought about even food. You know, if we take the time to say, you know, people say prayers obviously over food.
But pray and speak into the food.
But speak in your intention of
Yeah.
how you want this food to nourish your body, or like you're holding your rock, you know, knowing something that's a reminder and something you set time
Make it
aside to
sacred.
play with this rock, or, you know, just to look at it and think about the fact that you are making an intention to step into a more balanced state. That's right there. Just that mindfulness is really, that's really all we need to do. Like literally in every second of our life, we can figure out how do we be more mindful in this moment. I think we begin the healing every time we do that.
Yes.
You don't even have to really actually do anything. You're just setting an intention, and in doing that, you're already stepping into this vibration, you know, this energy space that you want to be, and then you become it. It's like simple science, but it's not simple somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
We confuse ourselves.
So normally we do a magic trick after the show, like as we close it off, but I'm gonna do mine now with you guys, and then Mercedes will have
from too.
So my shaman, we did a ceremony, all women ceremony, but my intention was to step into my masculine side as a single mother to be able to provide both roles to my children. And so, you know, your right side represents your masculine side, and your left side represents your feminine side. So on the medicine, on Huachuma, we raised both hands, and we like thanked our masculine side, set an intention, and wrapped it around our feminine side. So like our masculine was holding our feminine, and then our feminine, we did the same. We spoke a prayer and an intention into our feminine side, and then put the hand over our masculine side, like caressed it. And so it's like a way of intentionally like balancing that within, and like allowing your masculine to embrace your feminine, and your feminine to caress your masculine, and like let them work together. But when of course on the medicine, it was extremely powerful, and I was like, I am all I need. I was sitting there like this in the middle of a labyrinth. But I still do that, like whenever I'm feeling lack on either side, or feeling like I need a balance, I take my right and I embrace my feminine. I take my feminine hand and I caress my masculine. And there's something when you do it like with the intention and with the mindset of like wanting to be whole, it really inside you feel a balancing. So.
And even just crossing that median line in you I was taught that whenever I was triggered about something, like you need to cross the median, because that helps like balance out your left and right brain and whatever is like triggering it. So like I would like even just doing this would help calm, kind of like disperse the anxiety or whatever was going on. So I feel like that also kind of has some type of healing.
Definitely crossing over. I mean, you're asking yourself to do exactly that.
Yeah.
I like that trick. That was good. So we ask everyone who comes on the show a few questions, and so first off, if you could give your younger self a hug, what would you say? Maybe whatever younger self needed to hug most.
Yeah.
I would actually probably give like my early 20s in college a hug, because I think that was when I had the lowest self-esteem about myself, and I was not selective about who I shared my energy with. And so that's always been something that has kind of like, I'm just like, oh gosh, like if I could change something, like, you know, just give myself more self-esteem and tell myself that like this is temporary. So yeah, I would just say that like you're beautiful, and you're not always going to feel like this about yourself.
Yeah.
You're gonna love yourself one day.
And isn't it interesting though, if you would have done that, let's say you would have come to yourself and that would have made an impact on your, let's say, 25-year-old self or whatever, it might have changed your trajectory to step into an MMA gym to lose weight and then become, you know, what you've become and gone through the things you've become.
Yeah, and even like you know, with that toxic relationship I was in, I used to feel like I wish I never met him. If I could have changed something, it was literally so that I would not, exactly, like I have learned the most, I think, from all of those
just
times.
realizing,
And so I'm like, no, I'm actually very grateful for having my heart broken all those times, because I feel like it really did teach me.
Thank you, asshole, for helping me grow.
And I'd say life is happening for you and not to you, and that's of all that. Feels your feels on both of you.
If you could have the whole world read one book, which would it be?
Gosh, I think just because this has been on my mind lately, The Obstacle is the Way. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sheridan?
I don't know, but
Kevin Sheridan,
We'll make sure it's in the notes.
Yeah, I mean, just because we're talking about adversity and how you can grow from all of these situations. Yeah, so like The Obstacle is the Way teaches you to, like, it's just what the title is saying, like the obstacle is not an obstacle, it's an opportunity
to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Seek the pain for positive gain.
Yeah,
What we like to say. If you could whisper one phrase to everyone in the world, what would it be?
Oh, that's hard.
I know.
I could whisper one phrase to everybody.
It can be one word if you want, but
Is it love is my religion? And
it's my internet domain name at home.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure I feel like I could find much deeper answers to all of these, but I'm kind of
love.
I love that.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Yeah. Be love, or does that make you feel like love is the answer?
So much. Well, Ilima, before we let you go, where can everybody find you on the internet, and is there anyone that you want to thank?
Yeah. So all my social media handles is at Ilima-Nator. So IIMANATOR. Thank you to all my spiritual mentors. I'm gonna be honest, I actually didn't know what this podcast was about. I thought it was gonna be like you guys were asking me MMA questions. So I was super stoked when you guys started talking about plant medicine and like I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I have my medicine bag on me right now. So yeah, this is awesome. So I was just guided here by a higher power, and we should totally do some plant medicine ceremonies.
We like to give the MMA fans a different taste of their favorite fighters.
Yeah, we're the ring girls. We're not like analysts, you know. We're trying to be experts in the sport, but we happen to be around you guys, these amazing athletes that use alternative therapies and medicines and, you know, ways of going about becoming the most amazing athletes they are. So
You're a great example of. So
Thank
you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.